Tracy Sumner, it's so good to see you tonight, and welcome to Fresh Fiction Virtual Book Club.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. You can hear me, right?
Okay. Yes. Yep, you're coming through loud and clear.
Awesome.
So Tracy, for some of our readers that are new to you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into writing?
Yeah. I am kind of old school. I started years ago with Kensington, and I was in, and if I get in a loop, my writer's loop, and I start going off, I'll get back to the point, I swear to God. Sometimes it's like, it's a wild world out here now, because when I started, I sold in my 20s. I started writing my first romance when I sold to Kensington when I was in grad school. And that at that time, and I believe it or not, you would sell your book, and you guys remember, probably some of you, it would be on the shelf. We would have about a 6-week shelf life. If you were Nora Roberts or somebody else at that time, even Julia Quinn, who I was friends with then, I used to room with Eloisa James, that they were young then too. But you would get about 6 weeks, and then the bookstores would take the book, rip off the cover, and send the covers back to the publisher. That was the way they returned books. They did not return books. Yeah, and they may still do that for print editions, which I think they did with Edgar Allan Poe. So it's crazy. They would rip the covers off and send covers back. When at that time there was such pressure, and books were in print, there was nothing else, and you had that 6-week thing and release day. But now it's so crazy. So I published them with Kensington, and then I'm in marketing and financial services. So I had my cat is trying to get in here. So I had a little time off. I took a little time off. My editor was relieved of duty at Kensington. She was older though, and I think it was her retirement gig, and she was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. So I took a little bit of time off, and then I started back. And when I started back, we had moved into this whole ebook revolution, and everything that you see now, it's the industry is incredibly different. It's different. But it's great. I mean, there are many pros, and there's some cons just to the amount of promotion and marketing that we have to do that is available now. With social media. Back then, you had a website, you gave out your bookmarks, you did signings, and that was about it. Now, and conferences, RWA, and things like that. Romantic Times, that one was fun. But yeah, so now it's really different. But I am I write historical. I do have a contemporary novella just for shits and giggles, but I write historical. I'm pretty steamy. I love it. I love the genre. I started when I was 19. I picked up a romance on a spring breaky kind of thing, and it was LaVyrle Spencer, Vows. Never forget LaVyrle Spencer, Vows.
I love how you have it right there too. Yes.
Oh my God, this book changed my life. And I'm going to go see her. She's in Minnesota somewhere. She's retired, but she teaches the choir at her church. I'm going to show up sometime. I know that's creepy, but I want to do it. But yeah, I was not a romance reader. I was kind of anti-romance. I read a lot of Stephen King and all kinds of stuff, the Chosen, and just nothing romance. And I read that book, and that was it for me. That's all I read. That's what I love. That's what I love to write. So I write for love of the genre, and I think the karma is a good thing. I kind of try to rely on that instead of some of the other stuff. But you guys ask me questions. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I know.
Well, with that, and I love when people have that book that really inspired them, right? Mm-hmm. Which introduces the genre. What was it about that book that resonated with you? And then how do you, since not only do you read that, then you're writing historical fiction, what was it that then translated so that you're putting, hopefully, whatever it was that inspired you into your own novels?
Yeah, well, I think with Vows, the first time I read it, I just think I was entranced, and maybe this happens to everybody, the first romance they read, just with LaVyrle Spencer writes, I mean, if you read them now, they're a little dated, of course, but the sexual chemistry is really good. And I don't mean sexual chemistry like I'm talking about when she sees him, and that there's a scene in that book I will never, and I can't even remember everything. Like, I write a book and sometimes I can't remember everything, but I remember. And they're doing these little parties like you used to do back then, where it was very risque, but that really was very sweet compared to tame to anything. And they would go, it was sort of like 7 Minutes in Heaven, is that what it's called? And they would go into a closet, and they go into a closet, these two who have been kind of doing the slow burn, and this is like 65% of, maybe longer, through the book. I mean, that scene is crazy good, and it's not like anything's consummated in that closet. It's not, but wow. I think I was just entranced by this book that you, and I was reading great authors then, but that you couldn't put down. I just, and in this chemistry and these characters. So I think when I started writing, I think Stephen King in On Writing says that writers have themes they go back to. They keep all through it. And I have a thing, like, I liked writing the brothers and the thing, this whole Duchess Society series that I'm writing now. It's these rookery guys, but there are some dukes in there, please. I got a couple I got 3 dukes in there too, but they're all connected, and there's a real male bonding. And I have another series, the Kensington one, that was brothers. I kind of like that, and Stephen King does it in Shawshank Redemption, totally bromance. Stand By Me, I have that theme too. So I don't know. I just guess I wanted heroes and characters. Like, I don't write just the male female. I like that sort of bonding too. But I don't know, with Vows, I think it was just I had never read anything like that I just couldn't put down. And so then I just went on a whirlwind where I powered through a couple thousand books for sure. Before I said, oh, well, I'm a journalism major, and I was in grad school. I was getting media arts. So I was doing script writing and film and some other things. And I eventually was a graphic designer, but I thought, okay, I'll try my hand at my own. So I think I want to put that emotion into the characters, into the relationships.
And with that, yes, it does. Yeah. But and with all that, is it the characters that come to you first, or is it situations or plot lines?
It's the hero.
It's the hero.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy for me. Yeah, I mean, I love the heroine, and somebody mentioned, it might have been Andrea. I got to say hey to my posse, Amy, Andrea, and Keisha. Woo woo! I know those are my girls. Some of my girls, but those are my girls. Yeah, I think I don't like to write anybody who doesn't have a passion. Like, if they just have a passion for the character, any of my books, the Duke's a geologist. I have marine biologists, I have this, I have that. They're an artist, they're a furniture maker, they're a watch, something. Even if they're a Viscount, they got something else going on. So the hero comes to me usually first, and I love the heroine, and they have their passions too. I don't like to write people who don't have this other thing going on. They're a suffragette. The latest 2 scandals in the Scotch, she wants to go to Cambridge. And of course, that's an impossible dream,
right?
In the 1820s, but that's her thing. And she's smart enough, she could. So, yes. So the hero kind of comes to me first, and I go with that. And then I don't know that I'm a great plotter, although I'm really getting a lot of comments lately. I don't read every review or anything because that'll make it crazy, that they're fast paced, which I never was fast paced before. So I think I've gotten, as I'm writing more, I think my dialogue's good. I do the witty banter, like The Thin Man. I'm totally into that. I love that. But I never was fast paced before. So I don't know. I guess that's it. But the hero comes first.
And I always think it's interesting with authors. I mean, do you see it as a movie in your head with them? Are they talking to you? Are they kind of just sitting there until you come back? Or
yeah, you kind of put yourself, and I know this is different for every writer, but I kind of put myself in the scenes, and I think and it takes me, I'm not fastest writer because I kind of try to layer, like I try to get deeper, like go a little deeper. And I also edit as I go along. So my manuscript at the end is pretty clean, but I can see them. And when I'm in that room with them or whatever, and I really have a firm grasp of what's happening and I can see it, it goes quickly. And then it's fun. When I'm in there and I feel uncomfortable, it's not fun. Like I don't know where it's going. Like,
Yeah.
but if I know where it's going and I can see it, yeah, and what's really, really cool about writing, and when I took that little bit of time off between Kensington and coming back in and doing all this other stuff, I forgot that the characters tell you what they're doing, which is really, I mean, you don't know, and then the next thing they're saying something. It's really, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it's cool.
Did you find that your writing style changed from when you first started compared to when you came back to it?
I really think if somebody went back and read that first book the first book I ever wrote that I sold, which is not common, and I'm not even sure it's a good thing, I think it's totally me. I think I've perfected the craft a little bit because I love reading craft books too, and I'm always thinking about words and like that fast-paced thing. I think if you read that one, although that one got nominated for a HOLT Medallion and a National Reader's Choice at that time, so, which is pretty crazy out of the gate. A few things actually, and I think it's totally me and totally my voice and totally is my book. But I think maybe, yeah, I think I've maybe polished the craft a little. Like I don't know, but I think if I read that one, I really would be like, yeah, this is me. So not so much.
And how much research do you do? I mean, I think that's always an additional challenge when they're historical novels, right? And like you said, things have changed. I remember reading historicals when I was younger, and it was pretty much, okay, whatever was in the book, I took as fact. And now I know readers and say, oh no, I need to go to Google and I need to look things up. And especially when you have characters that are, like you said, a character who's a geologist. I mean, how much of that research goes into the books?
Yeah, that part I love. For for the historical part, kind of once you start writing them, you get these things that you can hang your hat on. I love Regency, but I actually almost kind of would prefer Victorian maybe. And a big difference is you don't have gas lamps in the Regencies. So, there's not a whole lot of difference, but you do have all these things in historical that you can hang your hat on that you mention. And once you kind of got that stuff, that part is pretty good. And the clothing, I'm not a big clothing description person. That's not my thing, but for the geologist, for those kind of things, I do a bit of research. Like I have one, he's a watchmaker. The geologist's interesting. That one's I think I kind of have two of those, but Chasing the Duke for sure. And I had a person who read it who was a geologist, and she said this was really, it was good. Like I try to go into detail, but I love sprinkling that stuff. I love that bit of research. Like I have one, this is the contemporary thing on Bella, but he's a photographer, and I did take photography classes in college. And I mean, I love it. Like that's a good, the bit of action between two pieces of dialogue we call a beat. And the beat, like if he's a photographer, you can have him like doing these things with a camera or some piece of something while he's talking to her. The beats are great if you bring that stuff in. If he's a geologist, the rocks, whatever. And I also think it's great for when the dialogue is happening to have them speak like that. They speak about that. If they're an artist, they're going to be talking in that kind of, they're going to use art terminology here or there, or geologist or whatever. I write a lot of rookery guys, like I write a lot of roughnecks who are self-made, kind of the Sarah McLean sort of thing. I get comps for that, not necessarily her style, but I think the hero style. And it's like if you have a guy or hero or heroine who has this other passion, you can load them up with like a lot of there's a lot on the page besides just the love story.
Well, I think all that makes those characters so much more three-dimensional, and it just that's what really pulls us into the stories, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you have them, they're interesting. That's I kind of like writers. I read, I'm a huge reader of the genre too. And I like writers who have an edge. That's the only way I know how. I know I say that to everyone, and I don't even know how to, and I think I write with that too. But yeah, those people that page, I can read 5 pages of a book and know that they've got something, and I think if they have this other thing that they're passionate about, and it gives the writer a lot of opportunity, but it builds this great character.
Mhm. And with that, I mean, do you have like a running list or ideas of, oh, this is that additional element that, boy, I just need to find the right character. I mean, like, did you have something where it's like, oh, I want to do a story where he's a geologist, but I'm waiting for the right guy on that? Or do you have another one where it's like, I don't know, he wants to be a miner or whatever? It's like, but you've just got to find the right story. Do you keep track of things like that? Or again, does it kind of evolve with the story and the particular character?
Yeah, I think it evolves with the character a little bit. I mean, I do still have it in my mind, and I've got a new series that I'm gonna work on in 2024, and I'm obsessed with Indiana Jones. I want an
Aren't we all?
Indiana
Come on.
Jones. Oh my God. So this guy he's a duke, but I kind of want him to be Indiana Jones. So that one is one, yeah, that I'm sort of waiting to find the right. No, I think it more comes from that character and maybe it's stuff I'm interested in too, that I sort of fit them in with these things they want to do. Like I had this one guy in Brazen Blue Stocking, and he's part Romany, which we used to say gypsy, but we really don't say that anymore. And he's also a byblow, I think, of a Viscount, if I'm remembering correctly, but he wants to be an architect. That's his thing. And but I bring it all in with him and the sketches, and he's got sketches on the wall, and there is a steamy scene on a drafting table, I will say. But I think that just came out of him, and I was kind of like, what? I don't know. I don't think I have a little list, but except for the Indian Jones.
Well, of course, most of us are familiar with your historical romances, but you've mentioned the contemporary that you're doing with the Kindle Vella, right? Do you find that there's a difference in your writing style when you move to contemporary, or are there other challenges there?
Yeah, that one was one that I wrote years ago. I wrote part of it. I wrote like half, and it was with an agent. And she's actually really fantasy and science fiction. She doesn't do much. I'm gonna have to plug in. Well, just one sec. She doesn't do much romance anymore. She's great, and she loved it, and it was really like, and I kind of kept it, and I just had this thing, right. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina originally. Although I live in New York now. But anyway, and so it was Southern, and it was just like, I mean, that thing's got cotton fields. I have cotton right back on my shelf, and I love it. Yeah, there is a different, it felt very natural to me. So I honestly think I could write both if I found the time. But it's definitely a different, like when I write historicals, I think I'm a little bit more formal, not like formal, but you don't want it to sound like slang, or that you're being, but of course, it's not the way they really sounded in 1820 either. But I mean, honestly, but I think there's a different cadence, and I'll use words that I wouldn't use in the historical and things just openly. But yeah, I definitely, I want somebody who really loves the historicals to read that thing and just tell me I actually like it, and I think it's pretty good, and it's got a little, I could do the series if I could find time, but it's totally different. And I think, I don't know, I guess some writers would struggle with that, or just not even want to do it, not even want to try a contemporary if they were historical, or the other. Because my personal opinion, I could be wrong, come down on me, contemporary writers, I think historicals are harder to write, because you have more things you have to stay within these boundaries.
Mhm.
So
Different restrictions on some of that, right?
a lot. Yeah, a lot. So I think it's the contemporary thing, a lot of it is you're able to kind of let it go, a little bit of stream of consciousness almost. Can't do that with historicals.
Mhm.
Mm.
Well, Tracy, I want to switch over to what we call our fresh fiction facts. Now, these are a series of short, typically quick type questions, kind of answer with what comes off the top of your head, okay?
Oh gosh.
Hopefully none of them are come across as too hard. Don't worry. What is your favorite time of day to write?
Probably late morning, early afternoon. I'm not a morning person.
What's your favorite time of day to read?
Late night.
In bed or do you have
Yes.
to go elsewhere? Okay. Yep.
Yes.
What is your favorite writing fuel? What keeps you going in a long stretch?
Caffeine.
What is the one thing that can instantly pull you out of a story, be it either a book or a movie or a TV show?
Well, if it's Southern, if the accent is bad, I think that would be a bad one. Dialogue that doesn't feel natural, that doesn't read well or reads very, static and plastic.
Mhm. What song, or do you have a current writing playlist? I mean, do you use playlists as you're writing?
I can't write with words going on. I listen to a lot of I like alternative, like Vampire Weekend and things like that, if you guys like that. But I also like some of the 80s stuff, good 80s, like New 80, The Cure, The Police, blah, blah, blah. But I can't write with lyrics. And you know what I'd listen to, I used to a long time ago, but I've kind of put it on and they play it, is the soundtrack from Out of Africa.
Oh,
That's
okay.
pretty amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. And if you just tell, I won't say her name because she'll start talking, but if you tell her Amazon got
Yep.
us to play Out of Africa or something like it, you get a lot of good stuff.
Oh, okay. What's the best book that you've read recently?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's probably going to be like a cheat a little bit, because sometimes when I get especially when I'm in a spot with writing, I go back to like Elisa Kleypas or Tessa Dare. And I just read something by Tessa Dare, but can't remember the title exactly. So she's a good fallback. Always.
Who would be your dream writer collaboration?
Wow. Judith Ivory.
Okay. Go with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's, I had coffee with her at RWA. And for anyone who, I just told Keisha, for anyone who has not read her, she retired. I'm not exactly sure why, but fabulous. Incredible.
Oh,
writer.
yes. I've got a lot of hers back on my bookshelves for sure.
Yeah, she's incredible.
What is the clothing or accessory that everyone hates that you own, but you secretly love?
Everyone hates. I have quite a few bucket hats, so I will say the bucket hat. Yeah.
What is the most unnecessary thing that you've bought online?
Wow. I will show you guys. It's right here. Hold on. All right.
We always love the demos. Yes.
I know this is sad, but lights up.
Light.
It's cool.
And I can think of a couple of our readers that are going to go out and look for that.
I love it. Oh my God.
What is a luxury item that you absolutely can't live without?
Oh wow, luxury item. Uh, and I will tell everyone should be using this. It's not cheap, but some form. SkinCeuticals, vitamin C
Ah, okay.
for the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it lasts a long time. You should use a vitamin C on your face every morning, guys.
Okay,
Serious.
you've been kidnapped, but 2 hours later, you're returned because you won't stop talking about what?
Well, my husband would say books and romance. Gets writing. Oh boy. And then I'll say college football, number 2.
Ooh, okay. So who is your team for college football?
Clemson Tigers.
Oh, I should have known that. Okay.
Oh, yes.
North
So
Carolina, right?
you're Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Because
cool.
although my alma mater was Tulane, and so Green Wave did have a good year, but normally
Yes, he did.
it's kind of
Yeah, and I'm a Mac Brown fan. He used to be at Texas. Love
okay.
that guy. He's at Chapel Hill now. He's cool. He's cool.
Okay, what is your most dog-eared or reread book? The one that you just keep going back to over and over and over again.
Uh, Probably, okay, Nora Roberts Nora Roberts is kind of a person for me that she's sort of that comfort read. There's a little bit of a potato chip thing to it, but and she inspires me. I don't know what it is about her, and Julian Long, Tessa Dare, Lisa Kleypas. There's a few that I can read, and I find myself putting a lot of notes to kind of, sort of work some of that stuff in a way. And she had this series years ago called Chesapeake. Remember, it was about the brothers,
Yeah.
and they adopted the younger boy. And then like 20 years later, 15, 20 years later, she wrote the one about him, and he's, grown up then. And those books, and that first one, it was called Sea Swept. And can't even remember titles very well. Met Nora Roberts at RWA years ago, and I don't know if that had even been out for very long. I can't remember, but I went up to her and I said, do you, that scene, against the door with the woman at the beginning? And she was like, yeah. And I said, what advice do you have for a newly published writer? And she said, patience. That's all she said to me, patience. And it took me until this time to figure out what she meant.
Yeah.
Do the work, patience.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I didn't know what she meant then. So it took a long time.
Well, Tracy, before we head over into our unrecorded happy hour with our readers, what is the best way for our audience to keep in touch with you and find out about what's coming next?
Well, my website is very up to date, and that's probably a good way if anybody wants to. It's my name, but it's, instead of it all being one, these people who steal your website's names, what do they call them? Like pirates for this kind of stuff. TracySumner.com they took, and then they wanted me to pay like $5,000 to get the name. So it's Tracy dash. I know that these guys. But anyway, so it's tracy-sumner.com. But from there, there's the contact me. My email is tracy@tracy-sumner.com. But I have that, and then I have a newsletter like everyone else, and you get a free book. Chasing the Duke is a really pretty decent novella, though, I've got to say. And so that you get that with the newsletter, and I send out a couple a month and keep up with updates. And you know what, a really good way for any reader who likes any writer, and I follow some myself, is follow them on Amazon too. I mean, BookBub's great and Goodreads, but on Amazon, the only time they email you, they never mess with you unless this person has something coming out. So, no harm, no foul. If you want to know when their new book is coming out, it's kind of an easy way.
Okay, great. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and stick
Okay,
around
thank
for
you.
our happy hour.
Cool. Thank you.